Guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'm sure the incident of Sylvester Omowari, the GS2 boarding student of DOWEN College, Lekki, Nigeria, is not news to a lot of us. It's the story of a junior student who was alleged to have been beaten up mercilessly by 6 other students of that school, and he eventually died from his injuries. Despite Sylvester gave a very livid account of what happens to him, the school still insists that those injuries he sustained that led to his death was as a result of a fall that happened during a football match. I have done a very extensive video on that topic of everything that happened in a previous video, and I'm going to leave the link maybe up here or down in the comment section or in the description box. This incident has sparked a widespread outrage both on social media and print media, and celebrities, everybody are clamoring to see justice. In today's video, I'm going to be applying my expertise as a barrister. I will be dissecting and analyzing this unfortunate incident legally, not emotionally and not sentimentally. I'll be discussing the legal possibility of the perpetrators of this act going scot-free. I have heard a lot of people call for the parents of these children, so I'm also going to be discussing whether at law parents can be held responsible or liable for the acts or omissions of their minors, children or dependents. I'm also going to be touching on the subject whether or not the school has the right to reopen. As so many other people too have called for the school to be permanently shut down, do the school have a right to close down their business because of one incident, or are they at liberty to reopen? We are going to be going really in depth as to the legal bearings of everything that has happened, so you will know what to expect, because social media justice is not the real life justice. So let's go on, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, drop your own feelings in the comment section, and share if you think that other people are going to benefit from this video. Before I go into all of that, let me give you guys some updates as to what has happened from the time I shot the last video. First, the Lagos State government. Lagos State is the state where the school is domiciled and where this incident occurred. The government has ordered an immediate and indefinite shutdown of that school pending the outcome of investigations, which has already been launched. The Delta State government, which is the state where this child hails from, has also waded into the matter and have promised to get to the root of it. It's not like this is the first time we're hearing that and never got to hear anything else, but it's still worthy of note that I mentioned it. Also, the police has issued an official statement as to what happened, and they have gone ahead to seal the premises of DOWEN College, which a lot of people would say is a very good step in a good direction. Fourthly, and very importantly, an autopsy has been carried out on the remains of late Sylvester, and indeed a black substance was recovered from his body by the pathologist in Warri. The pathologist that carried out this autopsy says that he will not be able to decipher what the black substance is until it is sent to Lagos or Abuja. So that has been sent, and we are waiting feedback as to what that child was fed after he was beaten up. And lastly, on the updates, Sylvester's first posthumous birthday indeed held on Sunday the 5th of December, and lots of flowers, cards, teddy bears and all of that well wishes were sent to DOWEN College in commemoration of his life. So having given you guys all of that updates, let us dive right into the legal reality of what has happened, what is happening, and what may eventually happen. Persons under the age of 18 are called minors, and in law you can also refer them to as juveniles. When it comes to crimes committed by juveniles, they are not handled as every other case. They are treated specially, and they have a separate law or legislation that regulates their affairs. It's called the Children and Young People's Law. They are treated differently in the sense that they are not tried in the regular courts. They are tried in the special court called juvenile courts, and the precedence that involves trying a minor is not open to the public. It is held in private, in a special place where anybody or reporters cannot just go in and witness the proceeding. This is to protect the image of that minor, as the law would put it. Now hear what the law says. The law says that a person under 7 years of age is not, cannot be criminally responsible for any acts or omissions that he commits. So regardless of what that child does under 7 years old, the law assumes that a child of this age cannot form any guilty intention. They are legally assumed to have their sense of choice impaired and lacking the necessary discretion in coming to an informed decision. So a child from 7 and below is incapable of being held guilty for anything regardless of the crime. Now, this is a secondary school, and I can comfortably assume that there is no 7-year-old child in secondary school, more or less senior secondary school. So let's keep that law of 7-year-olds on the side. Let us go to the law that regulates behavior to the age of 17, which I believe that the alleged perpetrators of this crime fall within that age bracket. The law says that these persons cannot be criminally liable for a crime, or else it is proven that at the time of doing it, they had capacity to know that they ought not to do it. And if that capacity to understand that they're not supposed to behave that way is not proven, such a minor cannot be convicted. Our law went further to state that when it comes to capital offenses are offenses that warrant the death penalty, offenses like murder, kidnapping, terrorism. When it comes to capital offenses, a juvenile cannot be sentenced to death, and even imprisonment should only be given when there are no other remedies by way of probation or fine or corporal punishment. Imprisonment should be the last resort when it comes to juveniles. A lot of people on social media have been clamoring that an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If these boys actually took the life of this Sylvester, they should be convicted to the same punishment. They should be convicted to death. The law has said no, that cannot happen when it comes to a juvenile. And even for imprisonment, the prosecution, the people taking them to court, has to prove that they ought to have known the degree and appreciate the consequence of their actions or omissions. So if this case eventually goes to court, let us leave that for the courts to decide and hope that justice is served. As for their parents, I've been seeing a lot of people on social media, and I've been reading a lot of people on social media clamoring for the neck and the heads of their parents as well, holding that since their parents didn't bring up their children well, they ought to also get some sort of punishment. They say that if the parents trained their children properly, they wouldn't go ahead to school and kill on that person's child. So just as the children ought to be punished, the parents also ought to have some kind of punishment in what has happened. I have my own ideas about that, but first let me ask you guys, what do you guys think about this? Do you think the parents of these children should take part of the blame and the shame and the punishment, or do you think that all man for himself? What are your thoughts? Well, for me, I'm going to approach it in 3 dimensions: spiritually, morally, and legally. Spiritually, the Bible came out very clear to say that sons would not be held accountable for the sins of their fathers. And likewise, fathers should also not be held accountable for the sins of their children. Morally also, I believe that people should not be made to pay for the actions of other people, especially when those actions were not directly influenced by them. It's just like me in Port Harcourt doing something wrong. Then you then go to my mother in Lagos that has no idea of how I live here or what I'm doing here, or is not endorsing any of my actions, and go and make her pay for what I independently did here in Port Harcourt. I don't think it's morally right. Now, legally, according to law, which is the most important thing here, there are no provisions of the law that makes a parent culpable or liable for the offenses of their dependents or children, as long as they didn't aid and abet that crime. So even though these children have committed an atrocity, their parents legally have no hand or no blame, no case to answer in law. Although in reality, in Nigeria and many other third world nations in Africa, you see the police arrest a suspect's parents or relation or friend to go and produce that suspect. Even when that relation didn't start as a shorty for that suspect, you see the police would arrest somebody's mother and insist that the mother, if the father does not go and produce the child, they wouldn't release the mother. That is an illegal practice, and there's no provision for such a thing in law. In law, it is pretty much all man for himself. Everybody answer your name. So I've been seeing on social media, even some people have gone as far as posting their parents' pictures and exposing them to danger. I do not think personally that that is right. I think that if the children actually did what they have been accused to have done, then they should be the one to face the music. As a matter of fact, controversial as it may sound, aside Sylvester's family, I kind of feel that those perpetrators' family are the next victims, because the kind of hurt and fear and shame that they have been thrown into. I just put myself as a mother in their shoes, knowing that your child has killed somebody and everybody, the whole world is clamoring for your child's head and for your child's blood. And you know that you cannot hide your child. You have to give up your child to Lord to go and face, all sorts of excruciating experiences at that tender age. Every parent will be heartbroken. So I feel kind of sorry for those children's parents, because they'll be going through hell knowing that their teen children could be murderers. Even Jesus, that we call Savior now, when he was being persecuted, then, before this present day that we worship him, then in the heat of that persecution, he was seen as the devil, blasphemous, right? Someone that was taking the place of God. The whole crowd hated him. But his mother still came out to stand with him, to clean his face, to weep for him. That is the love of a mother. That is the love of a parent. So these children's parents will be so heartbroken to know that their children have put themselves in this kind of shit and mess. So while we encourage parents to bring up their children properly and teach them the right way to live, let us not also forget that moral decadence is not always as a result of failure on the part of the parents to instill good values in children. Many times these parents do. Many times parents train their children, and these children will go out and retrain themselves, or allow the streets to train them, or allow themselves to be trained by friends and bad peers. So when you see a child derailing, it's not all the time that fingers should be pointed at the parents. Sometimes the parents did their absolute best, but the child remained adamant in being recalcitrant. Another set of people that the whole world is clamoring to get justice from, to see punished, is the school. And not just the school as a corporate body, the officials of the school. So you might ask, what are the civil or criminal liabilities that may befall both the school and the principals of the school? Typically, the school and its officers will not be held liable for what happened. Typically, all things being equal, they cannot be held responsible for that particular incident that led to the demise of Sylvester. But there are exceptions. They would only be held responsible in law if it can be shown that, one, they connived with the perpetrators of this crime. By conniving, I mean they either aided or abetted the crime. The crime was committed jointly with them, either directly or indirectly. Secondly, they can be held responsible if it can be shown that they acted as an accessory after the fact. An accessory after the fact is someone that tries to conceal a crime or conceal a suspect to a crime. So if you try assisting someone who has committed a crime, you are an accessory after the fact and you can be held responsible. Thirdly, another way that school can be held to pay for what happened is if it can be shown that by their conduct or inactions, they were negligent or reckless. In other words, that incident happened out of their carelessness or recklessness. If it can be shown, because they are in an authority to protect the pupils, it's a fiduciary relationship, they owe a duty of care to those students in their custody. So if it can be shown that they were negligent or careless in managing their affairs that accumulated to the death of a child in that school, then they can be held 100% responsible for that incident. It is so sickening and unfortunate what happened, and getting justice will be dependent on a lot of things, not emotions, not sentiments, not social media outcry. Getting justice will be dependent on a lot that has bearing to facts and proofs. Let us not forget that social media outrage does not influence court decisions. What does is evidence and facts. I don't know whether you all are aware of the case of Pastor Sotito Bere. He's the founder and of course head pastor of Sotito Bere Praising Chapel in Nigeria here. There was a case of disappearance of a 1-year-old baby in his church in 2019. 1-year-old Gold Kolawole in 2019. I remember clearly like it was yesterday. There was so much social media outrage. In fact, his church was burnt down and he was almost lynched because, according to the mother of that child, she came to church with that child and that child walked right into the altar or something and never was seen in that church. And even up till today, that child has never been seen or never been found. After the social media outrage, the pastor was arrested and charged to court. And after proceedings, judgment was delivered against him and he was sentenced to a lifetime imprisonment for kidnapping. Him and his legal team appealed that judgment to the Court of Appeal, And just last week, the Court of Appeal nullified the decision of the High Court, saying that the evidence that was relied on to arrive at that judgment was merely circumstantial. It wasn't the direct evidence. It was merely circumstantial, so they cannot convict him based on an evidence that they didn't deem strong. He has been discharged and acquitted. He's walking freely. And that is exactly how the law works. The law works on facts and figures. So I really do hope that we get enough facts and figures in this case. The law, they say, is an ass. And that is why the symbol of law in Nigeria is a woman blindfolded. She doesn't see sympathy. She doesn't see emotions. All she sees, all she cares about is what she hears. And what she wants to hear are evidence. Not long ago, I read an account of another student who claimed he's also a dormitory member and was present when that incident occurred. According to the account of this pupil or student, he said that everything that late Sylvester said was actually the fact, that he was gang beaten by a group of 6 other students. He was given a substance to drink, and they were threatened that they must stick with the football story. But what shocked me was this young boy said that even when they were trying to make the school authorities understand that the football story was only made up and these are the real things that happened, this is the real story, this is the true picture of what happened, this student claims that the school authorities shut him down and insisted that he must stick with the football story. If indeed the school is concealing the true picture of what happened on that day, I am very sorry for them, because not only would they never see business in that school, but they would definitely face the wrath of the law. Assuming from the onset the school launched a deep investigation as to what happened to that child and came out with a report, a statement admitting to the fact that this is what happened, releasing the information of these perpetrators to the police, not to social media. No, they don't have any right to do that. Releasing the names, going to the police station and lodging a formal complaint and standing on the truth of what happened, then of course they can be exculpated from liability, because the law does not expect that the housemaster or the principal is supposed to stand beside each and every child in a school. The law only requires that they take adequate provision to ensure that every child is safe and sound, and if peradventure in the course of things something happened, they have a transparent and open books as to what happened. What will get this school into big trouble is their alleged concealment of the truth. There are a lot of things I'm not very happy about in this case. I believe that if it were a developed country with top-notch medical facilities, with people who have the right attitude and appreciate the value of life, I believe that that boy would have survived. Even the videos that showed him at the hospital, I didn't see any sense of urgency happening around there. I didn't see any IV. I didn't see him swapped around with medical practitioners. I do not know if the hospital did enough to save that child, because at the time when he got to the hospital, he wasn't unconscious. He was still very much alive. He could even walk slowly. So what was done and what was not done to ensure that Sylvester's life was saved at the hospital? I hope in coming days, weeks or months, we'll be able to get a true picture of the hospital's role in this case. What has happened to Sylvester is most unfortunate, and it's a lesson to all and sundry. And from the bottom of my heart, I really do hope that justice prevails. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Drop all your feelings, your comments in the comment section. Share the video for people that you think would love watching it, and subscribe to my channel for more amazing content. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Bye.